Player says Saint Seisha Shrine. Marta especially likes to leave offerings for her. Forest. Agnes gathers chamomile here every year to prepare her cures for the coming year. Chamomile is one of the flowers that blossomed over Saint Seisha's grave. Legend says it bloomed all year long. Forest. Shrine of Saint Seisha. Meadow. Smokey's home. Church and Druggers. Smokey's home. It's nice to see some green this time of year. Boarhound is one of the few plants that grows year-round here. Meadow. I can't believe how quickly the leaves changed this year. Meadow. Shrine of Waterfall. Old Salt Mine. The waterfall is always so beautiful. Old Salt Mine. Mine shaft. Mine shaft. Waterfall. Mine shaft. The old salt mines. No one's mined in Tassing for ages. Mine shaft. The old salt mines. No one's mined in Tassing for ages. Waterfall. Old salt mine. Forest. Shrine of Saint Seisha. Meadow. Smokey's home. Smokey's home. Forest. Backslot. Smokey. It's nice to see some green this time of year. Boarhound is one of the few plants that grows year-round here. Smokey. Backslop says hello, Magdalene. Smokey. Smokey says hello, Magdalene. Backslop. Forest. Forest. Meadow. Forest. Player says snow is creeping down the mountains. Winter will be here soon. Mill. This old statue of St. Moritz has seen better days. Mill. Snow is creeping down the mountains. Winter will be here soon. Mill. Meadow. Jesus. Andreas. Jesus. Andreas. Andreas says, hello. Option 1 of 2 good day, Master Muller. Option 2 of 2 you can call me Magdalene, Andreas. Option 1 of 2 good day, Master Muller. Andreas says. Player says what are you up to today? Andreas says drawing. Player says anything interesting? Andreas says no. Secrets. Player says oh. I see. I'll leave you to it, then. Andreas. Andreas says. Magdalene. Jesus. Meadow. Jesus. Andreas. Muller house. Mill. Anna. Ulrich. Ulrich says Magdalene. Player says hello, Ulrich. Ulrich says hello oh. Player says what are you doing? Ulrich says watching. Player says very well. Keep up the good work. Ulrich says work. Haha. Just like mom. I will work now. Ulrich. Anna. Anna says God bless you, Magdalene. Mill. Else. Else. Else says hello, Magdalene. Mill. Muller house. Church and Outer Farms. Mill. Martha. Ursula. Ursula says hello, Magdalene. Martha. Martha says hey, Magda. Ursula. Fabian. Fabian says good morning, Magdalene. Ursula. Martha. Mill. Outer Farms. Church and Drucker, Muller House. Andreas, Jesus. Meadow. Mill. Golden Hand Inn, Church and Druckers. Golden Hand Inn. Golden Hand Inn. Meadow. Killian. Killian says hot. Killian. Nico. Nico says Magdalene. Nico. Killian. Killian. Meadow. Golden Hand Inn. Mill. Mill. Player says I love watching the violets bloom every year. They match the purple of the mountains. Golden Hand Inn, Church and Druckers. Meadow. Forest. Meadow. Mill. Martin Bauer and Wojciech Ruziga. Mill. Our Lady of the Labyrinth. Church and Druckers. Player says. Mary, Mother of Jesus. It's strange to see her with a maze like this. Church and Druckers. Our Lady of the Labyrinth. Mill. Martin Bauer and Wojciech Ruziga. Drucker House. Central Town Commons. Central Town. Drucker House. Martin Bauer and Wojciech Ruziga. Church and Druckers. Martin Bauer House. Brigitta. Brigitta. Brigitta says hello, Magdalene. Martin. Martin says Magdalene. Martin. Brigitta. Martin. 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 Brigitta. Martin Bauer House. Martin Bauer House. Brigitta. Martin Bauer House. Church and Town Commons. Church and Druckers. Church and Druckers. Town Commons. Martin Bauer and Wojciech Ruziga. Kreutzer House, Artemis. Hans Bauer Farm. Gertner Farm. Entries. Central Town. Entry, Gertner Farm. Town Commons. Gertner Farm. Entries. Entry says morning, Magdalene. Gertner Farm. Hans Bauer Farm. Hans. Hans says hello, Magdalene. Player says hello, Hans. Hans says, did you need something? Kraft hasn't bothered you again, has he? Or gotten into some other trouble? Player says no, he's been fine. Mostly. Hans says good. That boy's a thorn in my boot. He's lazy, arrogant, doesn't care for his family. He'll bring shame to the Bauer name one day. I avoid sticking my nose into people's affairs, but Martin, HRM. Anyway, didn't mean to complain. Until later, Magdalene. Player says until then. Hans. Simon. Hans Bauer, Hetty, Yuta. Martin Bauer and Wojciech Ruzicka. Yuta. Yuta says hey, Magdalene. Hetty. Hetty says hello, Magdalene. Hans Bauer house. Hans Bauer, Hetty. Hello, Hans Bauer house, Simon. Simon says hey, Magdalene. Simon. Town Commons, Gertner Farm. Town Hans. Hans says hello, Magdalene. Player says hello, Hans. Hans says, did you need something? Option 1 of 2 just wanted to see what you were doing. Option 2 of 2 how are you doing? Option 1 of 2 just wanted to see what. Hans says well, I was just about to leave. I have to go meet Big Jurg soon. Player says what? Hans says stuff in the forest needs doing. Player says like what? Hans says to lift logs. Player says, why would you do that? Hans says we lift big logs to see who's stronger. It's a contest. Option 1 of 3. Option 2 of 3 how long have you been doing this? Option 3 of 3 does anyone else participate in this? Option 2 of 3 how long have you? Hans says few years. Once I grew into my frame, you know. There aren't many in Tassing who are up to the challenge. Other than Big Jurg. Simon's big, like Sepp was, but he's not interested. He's always busy taking care of the farm. Maybe Apollo can join us one day. He's been getting stout the last few years. Player says alright. Who's winning so far? Hans says Jurg. But barely. I've been gaining on him. He's growing older and softer with his council work. Haha. Option 1 of 3. I see. Option 2 of 3 so, this is a thing that men just do from time to time. Option 3 of 3 well, good luck with that, Hans. Hans says thanks. It's good for the body, you see. You're welcome to join us, Magdalene. Option 1 of 2 perhaps you haven't noticed, but I'm not very big myself. Option 2 of 2 you happen to have small logs that would suit me. Option 1 of 2, Hans says that's why we've got to get you hefting logs. Don't worry, we'll find you some smaller ones to start with. Maybe it'd put some meat on those bones. Player says, sure. Maybe I'll drop by someday. Hans says Christ, Jurg will get a kick out of that. You really mean it, right? Option 1 of 2, absolutely. Option 2 of 2. Option 1 of 2, Hans says great. I should get back to work now. Until late, player says until then. Hans. Hans says hello, Magdalene. Player says hello, Hans. Hans says, did you need something? Player says how are you doing? Hans says fine enough. Weather's getting colder. Player says and a family. Hans says healthy and hardworking. Simon's taking care of the winter provisions. He's a good boy. Proud of him. And you know how beautiful and kind-hearted Yuta is. Just like her mother. I don't know how I got so lucky. She's a miracle. She will marry a good man soon, I'm sure. Option 1 of 2 there aren't too many options in Tassing, though. Option 2 of 2 do you have someone in mind? Option 1 of 2 there aren't too many options. Hans says a few. They better keep their eyes open, though, or they'll miss out on her. That Youngitz is a good man, I've noticed. Option 1 of 3 he's solid enough. Option 2 of 3 I am not so sure about him. His I see. Option 3 of 3 it's, really. He's a fool. Option 2 of 3 I am not so sure about him. His eye seems to wander. Option 3 of Hans says maybe he acts like a boy sometimes, but he's on the town council. That says a lot about his character. All the same, when Yuta has children one day, they'll be beautiful and kind like their mother. Player says there are worse things to be, I guess. Hans says I did my best to raise her right, but her best qualities are all Halwig. Option 1 of 2 give yourself a little credit, Hans. Option 2 of 2 I miss her. Hans says the Lord is lucky to have her by his side. Snip. Kind of you to say, Magdalene. I should get back to it. Until later. Player says until then. Hans. Town Commons, Gertner Farm. Hans. Town Commons, Gertner Farm. Hans Bauer Farm. Gertner Farm. Hans says Magdalene. Town Commons. Town Commons. Hans Bauer Farm. Gertner Farm. Entries. Entries. Gertner Farm. Hans Bauer Farm. Artemis. Artemis says hello, Magdalene. Kreutzer House. Kreutzer House. Town Commons. Blackville. Eva. Christina. Christina. Christina says hi, Magda. Player says hello, Christina. What are you doing today? Christina says helping mom. It is right. You're really pretty. Option 1 of 3. Thank you, Christina. You're really pretty, too. Option 2 of 3, huh? He said that. Option 3 of 3, Option 1 of 3, Christina says he. Thank you. Don't tell. It's a secret. Option 1 of 2, I'll keep it secret. Option 2 of 2, I definitely won't. Option 1 of 2, Christina says haha. You're funny, Magda. Christina. Magda. Eva. Eva says hello, Magda. Blackville. Blackville says hello, Magdalene. Town Commons. Kreutzer House. Church and Druckers. Kreutzer House. Artemis. 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 Gertner Farm. Entries. Gertner Farm. Gertner House. Bill Peter. Bill Peter says Magdalene. Hans Bauer Farm. Bill Peter. Gertner House. Gertner House. Gertner Farm. Clara. Gertner Bedroom. Gertner. Clara. Clara says hello, Magdalene. Gertner Farm. Veronica. Veronica says hello, Magdalene. Gertner Farm. Clara. Gertner Bedroom. Gertner Bedroom. Gertner House. Gertner House. Clara. Gertner Farm. Gertner House. Town Commons. Gertner Farm. Entries. Central Town. It says hey again, Mags. Player says. Are you serious? I just told you not to call me that. And what are you all doing out here? Don't you have better things to do? It says what business is that of yours? Kraft says not me. All my work's done, Mags. Apollo says what do you care? It's not like you've got important work to do. Option 1 of 3 Tinker. Magdalene maintains and tinkers with the press and type, and sometimes works with Baldus. Pick a background that will affect your character's choices going forward. Option 2 of 3 Domestics. Magdalene can handle anything connected with household or animal work. Option 3 of 3 Bookkeeping. Magdalene is proficient with balancing numbers and general accounting of data and information. Player says I keep my dad's business running and profitable. I handle all of our orders and make sure everything's delivered on time. That seems a little more important than standing around the commons in the middle of the day. Apollo says must be nice to have money. You don't have to brag about it. Doesn't really sound like women's work anyway, if you ask me. Player says right. No one did. It says calm down, Mags. You're going to get a reputation. Craft says too late to worry about that. She already has a reputation. Option 1 of 4 Barb's Magdalene is skilled at stinging, countering, and otherwise deflating people in conversation. Pick a background that will. Option 2 of 4 Flirt Magdalene likes to playfully tease and flirt with people. Option 3 of 4 Haggle Magdalene is a strong negotiator, whether it comes to finances or other matters of trade. Option 4 of 4 Snoop Magdalene has a penchant for sneaking around, eavesdropping on conversations, and passing gossip. Option 3 of 4 Haggle Magdalene is a strong negotiator. Player says you've said that before and it doesn't make any sense. I bargain like a man. What does that even mean? Craft says well, what it sounds like. Player says you're still mad at me because I convinced her to give me her last pretzel on Friday. Let it go. Apollo says easy for you to say when you got the pretzel. It says alright, we got it. Lay off. Did you get those things your dad wanted? Player says oh, that's right. No, not yet. Hopefully I can just drop them off and start my reading for the day. It says reading? What book is so important that you need to get back to it? Option 1 of 3 Polyglot Magdalene can't speak any foreign languages other than Italian, but she can read a little of almost all of them. Pick a background that will affect your. Option 2 of 3 Volksbücher Magdalene is familiar with the most popular, common books of the day. Assorted trivia, almanacs, common knowledge, and scatological stories. Option 3 of 3 Reformation Magdalene has read a wide range of contemporary books on the Reformation and Counter-Reformation. Option 2 of 3 Volksbücher Magdalene is familiar with. Player says Molosine. Esther sent it to me from Prague. It says is that about the snake woman who takes off all her clothes? Player says sort of but no, not really. Or at all. Craft says oh. Does it have any pictures? Apollo says right. I want to see. Player says calm down. I'm not showing you lecherous dogs anything. Craft says don't you read all sorts of books about saints? Player says The lives and miracles of the saints are fascinating. Apollo says I only know about Moritz and Sasha. Player says there have been hundreds of saints all over Christendom. Each one has their own story to tell. Craft says I can barely remember half of Father Thomas's stories. I don't need to hear any more. Apollo says right. No thanks haha. Player says wait. Aren't you supposed to be at the rat house, too? You're on the council. It says sure, but it's pointless without your dad's plans. Hurry up and get them. I'll see you there. Steinauer House. Church and Druckers. Steinauer House, Craft, Apollo, Northtown, Alban Bakery. Town Commons. Alban Bakery. Player says I can smell the anise on the breeze. It reminds me of when I was little. Dad always bought anise cakes from Brit to help soothe my stomach when I was ill. Alban Bakery. Central Town. Grit. Grit says bless you, Magdalene. Central Town. Alban Bakery. Apollo. Northtown. Apollo. Apollo says hey, Magdalene. Craft. Craft. Apollo. Craft. Steinauer House. Central Town. Agnes. Agnes says good morning, Magdalene. Central Town. Central Town. Steinauer House. Craft. Apollo. Northtown. Northtown. Central Town. Carl. Rat House. Stahl's House. Eisenkopf House. Eisenkopf House. Northtown. Northtown. Naziu. Baltasar. Baltasar. Baltasar says Magdalene. Magdalene. Option 1 of 2 yes. Option 2 of 2 stare nervously. Option 1 of 2 yes. Baltasar says the cinnamon I added to the beer is perfect. Option 1 of 3 cinnamon. Doesn't that come from Ceylon? Option 2 of 3 isn't that a spice. Option 3 of 3 you remaking beer. Option 1 of 3 cinnamon. Nazio says ugh. Yes, at great cost. Baltasar says oh, never mind that. It's for the Christmas celebration. Player says oh, I suppose you don't have much time left. Baltasar says quite right. The will of time stops for no man. But it's going to be wonderful. Cinnamon, coffee from Ethiopia, cacao from the New World. Nazio says Jesus Christu, a ch hatanara face tutu. Jesus Christ, he who has the money can do everything. Baltasar says problem. Nazio says of course not. It's your money. Baltasar says. Anyway, I'm quite excited about it. Nazio says clearly. Baltasar says as such alchemy is not normally my strong suit. And for all of Nazio's complaints about the cost, the base rye we're using is free. Option 1 of 2 given the other ingredients, I'd imagine it doesn't make much of a difference to the cost. Option 2 of 2 really? Baltasar says yes. The farmers had so much rye this year, they just couldn't use it all. Grid made as much bread with it as she could but she wound up having to throw a lot out. So why not make beer? Option 1 of 3. Yes, why not? Option 2 of 3 I wish you the best luck with it. Option 1 of 3, Baltasar says thank you. Baltasar. Ah, if it isn't Mistress Magdalene. Player says hello, Baltas. Hello, Nazio. How are your inventions coming, Baltas? Baltasar says oh, very well, thank you. I was just showing Nazio how our rat house clock works on one of my smaller prototypes. Nazio says it is a fascinating process, truly. I had never considered that one man could make something so complex by himself. Option 1 of 3 the clock tower is the wonder of Tassing. Option 2 of 3 well, you do have to account for Entry's help in smithing the parts, and it's building the framework to hold it, too. Option 3 of 3 I bet there are 1 or 2 women who could make a fine clock if given a chance. Option 1 of Nazio says isn't it? I have not seen such a wonderful work of mechanical invention in such a small town. God has blessed you with Baltasar. Baltasar says ah, I'm simply glad that Tassing appreciates my work after so long. Nazio says you are too modest here in this simple alpine town. You really ought to come with me to Genoa. Baltasar says oh, no, I'm far too grounded here to manage that, Nazio. Nazio says then I shall be forced to visit every year to settle your accounts. And while I do, remind you of your genius. Option 1 of 3 some of us try to do that already. You're right, he is far too modest. Option 2 of 3 I wish you the best of luck. That is a very long journey. Option 3 of 3 how entirely dramatic. Option 2 of 3 Baltasar says if you do intend to visit, Nazio, maybe you ought to stay. Nazio says oh, I couldn't possibly. The bank needs me more and more every year. In any case, shall we return to work, Baltas? Baltasar says oh, yes, of course. Please excuse us, Magdalene. We're rather busy at the moment. Player says until later, then. Baltasar. Nazio. Nazio says ciao, Magdalene. Player says what a mess. I don't know how Baltas can get anything done with all this in the way. Nazio. Northtown. Northtown. Eisenkopf House. Stahl's house. Rat house. Carl, Central Town. Carl. Carl says good day, Mistress Druckerin. Good day, Mistress Druckerin. Good day, Mistress Druckerin. Good day, Mistress Druckerin. Player says the rat house is the biggest building in Tassing. Baltas clock took ages to build and place. Carl. Rat house. Stahl's house. Eisenkopf house. Stahl's house. Rat house. Rat house. Northtown. Claus. Claus. Northtown. Northtown. Claus. Claus says, "Ah, Magdalene. It's good to see you, but you've forgotten the mural sketches. They're sitting on my workbench at home. Would you mind grabbing them for me? I need to show them to the council." Player says, "Yes, of course. I'll be right back." Claus. Northtown. Rat house. Carl, Central Town. North Apollo, Kraft, Steinauer House. Church and Druckers. Central Town. Drucker House. Drucker House. Church and Druckers. Drucker House Upper. Player says the Rat House mural sketches. I think this is what my dad wants. I think these are all of the plans. What is? Is this part of the plans? Player says stop. Option 1 of 3, this isn't Dad's handwriting. I can actually kind of read this. Option 2 of 3, what an odd color. We don't have an ink like this here. Option 3 of 3, did someone leave this here? Option 1 of 3, this isn't Dad's handwriting. I can actually kind of read this. Player says thank God he's a printer. Well, whatever. I'll bring it just in case. Alright. I'd better get these over to the rat house. Drucker House Upper. Drucker House. Drucker House. Drucker House Upper. Church and Druckers. Drucker House. Central Town Commons. Central Town. Church and Druckers. Steinauer House, Kraft, Apollo, Northtown, Alban Bakery. Kraft. Apollo, Northtown. Central Town. Carl. Rat House. Rat House. Claus says I don't understand how we're still arguing about this. These murals should depict the truth, what we know is the truth. Thomas says I don't think it's so simple, Claus. Paul says are you afraid of angering our Lord, Father Thomas? Werner says I think Father Thomas means that the truth is not so easily agreed upon. Big Jurg says I don't know. I'm tired of arguing. I just wanted to look nice and show what happened. Claus says Magdalene. Thank you for bringing these. Maybe illustrations will succeed where talking has failed. I'm done arguing with them. I'll see you at home for supper. Thomas says it's alright, Magdalene. We don't need to see the drawings. It's not that we don't understand what he's trying to do. I didn't realize we had upset him so much. It says sounds like things got worse after I left. Paul says well, we've been arguing about this for almost 2 hours. Werner says for all the good it did us. He hasn't budged. What's the point of talking if you can't make any progress? Thomas says Magdalene, could you speak to your father, help him see things from our point of view? Option 1 of 2 Father Thomas, I don't even know what you're all arguing about. Option 2 of 2 so in the end I ran to get plans that you don't want to see and now you want me to do something else for you. Option 1 of 2 Father Thomas, player says what is your point of view? Thomas says Claus has strong, very strong, opinions on how the history of Tassing, of Kearsarge Abbey, should be portrayed. Werner says and those portrayals may upset some of our neighbors. Paul says isn't the real concern that it's going to upset the Lord? Isn't everyone really worried about him coming here someday and seeing the revolt memorialized on the wall? Big Jurg says you keep saying that we all disagree with him. I don't think I do. Not entirely. Option 1 of 2 well, what do you think? Yerg. Option 2 of 2 say nothing. Option 1 of 2 well, what do you? Big Yerg says I know I'm not the smartest man in this room, but I know what happened to my own dad. I know what he did. It doesn't feel right to ignore what happened to him, what happened to Otto. It says look, you all knew my dad. I never had the chance. I don't want to make the people in this town angry. I don't want to make our Lord angry. None of us do. But maybe there's a way to tell this story in a way that's true without upsetting anyone. Thomas says so. It's all very complicated, you see, Magdalene. Try to get him to consider a portrayal of our history that's a little less inflammatory. Option 1 of 3 my father was deeply affected by the revolt. It won't be easy to convince him of anything. Option 2 of 3 I don't think it's as complicated as you all think. Option 3 of 3 so you want me to convince him to do what option 1 of 3 my Thomas says the revolt was a major event for everyone in Tassing. I know how hard it was for him. Werner says we need to come to an agreement, or call off the mural entirely. Player says he's been wanting to paint this mural for years. You can't tell him no all of a sudden. Paul says then help us, Magdalene. Your father will listen to you. Option 1 of 2 all right. I won't promise anything, though. Option 2 of 2 fine. But only so he can paint it, not on account of your bickering like children. Player says now I'm going back home. This mess has taken up too much of my day already. Claus says Magdalene. Thank you for bringing the drawings to the rat house. I'm sorry it was a waste of time. Those men don't know what they want. When I tell them what I'm trying to do, they get scared. Then they talk and talk and talk. They talk all day and we're never any closer to a decision. I'm sick of it. Sick of the whole thing. Option 1 of 3 Dad, I'm worried about you. Option 2 of 3 can you just start working on it? Option 3 of 3 they'd probably stop arguing if you just proposed something more predictable. Option 1 of 3 Claus says I know. I appreciate the concern. I suppose I haven't been this upset about something in a while. I'll get through it. I just need time. Player says why is it bothering you so much? Claus says we hear all of these stories about what this place was, how it came to be. And it feels like history is something that happened before, happened to other people. But 18 years ago, we lived through something, you and I, everyone in Tassing. Everyone wants to forget about it, pretend it didn't happen. Player says you don't. Claus says no, I don't. All those years ago, I did nothing. I was worried for you, worried for Benjamin and Rachel and Esther. I was so afraid that I'd lose you. I wouldn't have been able to bear it. In the end so many people died anyway. Peter and Ulrich and Andreas and all of the others. And we lived. Player says Dad, everyone says that it wouldn't have made any difference. If you and the others had fought, you would have died. I would have died. Claus says maybe I could have stopped him from going to the mill. Or maybe we could have stopped the peasants from burning it down. But we'll never know. Option 1 of 2 you can't change the past, Dad. Option 2 of 2 is that what this is about, this mural? Option 1 of 2 you can't change. Claus says I know. The least I can do is make sure it's not forgotten. Something happened here. We were part of it. I need to help people remember that. If I don't do it, who will? Option 1 of 2 you rewrite, Dad. Option 2 of 2 Dante let it get to you. Option 1 of 2 you Claus says I wish the men in that rat house saw me the way that you do. Option 1 of 2 they'll come around. Option 2 of 2 one way or another, you'll figure it out. Option 1 of Claus says I hope so. All the arguing has left me beat. I'm going to bed early. Player says alright. I'm going to stay up for a bit and write a letter to Esther. Claus says good. Please say hello to her from me. Player says and her parents. I know, Dad. Claus says good night, Magdalene. I love you. Player says I love you, too. All this running around has left me tired, too. It will be nice to sit down at my desk and just write for a while. Drucker house upper. Church and Druckers. Right. Sleep. Right. Player says alright, where to begin? I should write to Esther. Player says here is Esther. Option 1 of 2 I hope you've been well. Autumn has reached us here in Tassing at last. Option 2 of 2 I hope you and your family are well. Dad sends his regards to your parents, like usual. Player says I've spent the last few days collecting oak galls with Sister Gertrude. I don't suppose you have the chance to do that in Prague. Sister Gertrude has been teaching me how to grind them into a smooth ink. It's difficult work, but you'll find no better ink anywhere in Bavaria. I'll send along a bottle with this letter. Oh, did I mention? Dad started a new project. He's painting a mural of Tassing's history in our new rat house to memorialize the revolt. The whole thing has me thinking about my own family history, past, present, and future. Option 1 of 2 I don't think I want to stay in Tassing forever. It's a quaint place to grow up, but I'm 20 now. Option 2 of 2 the printing shop has been in the family for years. I'm looking forward to taking it over. Player says of course, Dad will keep running it until he can't pull the levers anymore, but I'll take over sooner or later. Option 1 of 2 if I inherit the shop, I won't have to get married, either. Option 2 of 2 of course, the print shop will be more profitable than anything else my husband does. Option 1 of 2 especially if I have to marry it. Player says Christ, you would not believe how annoying he is. I think his mom is under the impression he's been courting me. Can you imagine? And yes, before you break the nib off your pen, I will come visit you in Prague, I promise. I'll try to make time to visit before winter. Life has been bustling here. Dad's been busy with the rat house mural, so I've taken over in the workshop. I'm sure it will be a sight to behold once it's finished. Write back to me soon. All my love. Magda. Sleep. Player says it's late, I should get some rest soon. Option 1 of 2 go to sleep. Option 2 of 2 stay awake. Church and Druckers. Drucker House. Martin Bauer Mill, Our Lady of the Labyrinth. Meadow. Meadow. Church and Druckers, Golden Hand Inn. Mill. Forest. Lower Abbey. Guest House. Abbot House. Player says the vines have grown over the entrance to the old abbot's house. Guest House. Even the old guest house is falling apart. Abbot House. Guest house. Upper Abbey. Lower Abbey. Shrine. Convent garden. Upper Abbey. Convent aquarium. Pet son of Mossbangerer. Pet son of Mossbangerer. Convent Upper Abbey. Convent garden. Upper Abbey. Convent aquarium. Convent aquarium. Convent garden. Convent garden. Convent garden. Convent aquarium. Convent Upper Abbey. Prioress house. Convent garden. Franziska. Franziska says God bless you, Magdalene. Convent garden. Convent garden. Prioress house. Upper Abbey. Convent garden. Shrine. Upper Abbey. Player says the hand of St. Moritz. The poor Clares take care of it now that the Benedictines are gone. Upper Abbey. Upper Abbey. Shrine. Lower Abbey. Lower Abbey. Meadow. Forest. Mill. Golden Hand Inn, Church and Druckers. Meadow. Arl Mill, Martin Bauer and Wojciech Bruzica, Drucker House. Drucker House. Church and Druckers. Sleep. It's late, I should get some rest soon. Option 1 of 2, go to sleep. Claus says act. Player says dad. Dad. Claus says Magdalene. Player says dad. Hang on, I'm coming. Player says dad. Claus says Magdalene. Player says what happened? Are you alright? You're bleeding. Claus says someone came into the house. They hit me, over the head. Player says I'll go get Dr. Stahls. Try not to move, Dad. Claus says Magdalene, it's not safe. Whoever attacked me. Option 1 of 2, this wound is too deep for me to take care of on my own. We need Dr. Stahls. Option 2 of 2, I can't carry you across town, Dad. I won't. Option 2 of 2, I can't carry you across town, Dad. I won't be long, I swear. Please. Option 1 of 2, this wound is too. Claus says Magdalene, be careful. Player says I will. I'll be right back, I promise. Paul says, do you know why anyone would want to attack you, Claus? Claus says no. Maybe someone didn't like one of the books I sold them. Big Jurg says, are you sure you didn't see a shadow and hit your head on the printing press? It says, come on, Jurg. You saw the workshop. Somebody was looking for something. Thomas says, a burglar? In Tassing? That's preposterous. Paul says, well, if it wasn't an attack, what was it? Werner says, enough. It was a deliberate blow to the head, unless any of you wish to debate my diagnosis. Paul says, it says, Thomas says, no. Werner says, as I thought. Truthfully, Claus, I'm surprised the blow didn't kill you. You have a strong skull. It's a grave injury. Magdalene, you'll need to help take care of your father. Option 1 of 2 I will. Whatever I need to do. Option 2 of 2 obviously. Option 1 of 2 I will. Werner says good. Of course, the mural will have to be called off now. Claus, you absolutely cannot get out of bed. Claus says no, it has to be done. This is too important. Just give me some time to rest. I'll find a way to make it work. Big Yerk says I don't think we need to cancel the entire project. Can't we just wait? Paul says Claus, your health comes first. Anyway, we haven't even been able to agree on what the mural should be. Thomas says indeed. It might be best to abandon the entire idea. Werner says with respect, Father Thomas, you are not on this council. Thomas says yes, just offering an opinion. Player says I can paint the mural. It says what? Mags, quit joking around. Big Yerk says well, I know you want to help your dad, but aren't you too young for something this big? Option 1 of 4 I've been painting since before I could walk. Option 2 of 4 I am old enough to run the print shop by myself, and dad trusts me to illustrate the books. Isn't that enough? Option 3 of 4 I am older than it's, and he's on the town council. And he doesn't even do anything. Option 4 of 4 let's skip this debate. We all know I'm capable of doing this myself. Option 2 of 4 I am old and Paul says painting a mural this large and complicated will take a lot of skill and expertise. Player says so. Paul says so that's why we were having your dad make it? He's been making art forever. Werner says I agree with Paul. Claus needs home care. You're best suited for that, Magdalene, not a mural. Player says what is that supposed to mean? Big Yerk says well, are you sure you're up for it? Physically, Thomas says it's quite demanding. You'd be up on scaffolding and could fall. Option 1 of 3 what would any of you know about it? Option 2 of 3 are you not listening to me? I've already been doing this work for years. Player says I know what it takes. Dad knows what it takes. Do you? I can do it, Dad. Claus says. If you don't trust Magdalene to do the mural, to hell with the lot of you. Thomas says Claus. Claus says if you don't trust her, you don't trust me. I'll never do any work for this council again. It says. Alright. I say we let her. Paul says it doesn't look like we have much of a choice. Werner says, very well. Big Yerk says alright, Magdalene, you can do it. But you still need to talk to us about what you're doing, alright? Option 1 of 2 of course. Big Yerk says thanks, Magdalene. Rest up, Claus. Claus says I'll do my best, Yerk. Werner says Magdalene, just a moment. Player says yes. What is it? Werner says I didn't want to say this in front of your father or the others. Your father is lucid right now, but his injury is severe. His current demeanor is misleading. Option 1 of 2 I know the injury is severe, Werner. I saw all the blood. Option 2 of 2 what are you saying? Werner says Magdalene, there is damage to his brain. Player says. Werner says he may have a few weeks, maybe even a few months left. But he's not going to survive. Option 1 of 3 no, there has to be something you can do. Option 2 of 3 can we take him to see a surgeon? Option 3 of 3 say nothing. Option 1 of 3 Werner says no. I'm not a surgeon. Option 1 of 2 can we take him to see one? Werner says no. He can't be moved in this condition. In fact, he shouldn't move at all. Even if he could, I don't think the finest Italian surgeons would know how to deal with trauma like this. Option 1 of 2 so, he's just going to die. Option 2 of 2 say nothing. Option 1 of 2 player says and there's nothing I can do about it? Werner says you can make him comfortable and you can enjoy the time you have left. I can help with palliative care. But time will run out before long. I'm sorry, Magdalene. Player says. Player says Dad needs to be able to see the mural in its finished form. But I don't know how much time he has left. Werner said it could be a few months, or God protect him. I'll pick up where Dad left off. He wanted to paint the history of Tassing, from its earliest days to the revolt. I'll start with the earliest part of Tassing's history, the pagan tribes and the Romans. Then I'll move on to the founding of the Abbey and Tassing Saints. After that, I should find a way to represent our recent history. Depicting the revolt is important to Dad. People in Tassing might know some of the town's history, but not all of it. Dad said the library in Gearsaw had those records. He was going to write to the last prioress to see if she had any information. I should write to her now, while I'm thinking about it. Right. Sleep. Right. Options. Main menu. Cancel.
Recognizing result. October 18th hour. Return to main menu. Your game was last saved 53 seconds ago. Pentiment.
Options.